Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, got a doozy of a story for you today. The new Cleric Touches Herself. We're talking about cure wounds here, of course, you filthy, filthy animals. Before we get into the video, we wanted to let you know that there's a giveaway that consists of $180 worth of awesome stuff going on in collaboration with EasyRollerDice.com. All you need to do to enter is click the link in the description below or in the pinned comments, follow us on Twitch and Twitter, and of course, visit the EasyRollerDice.com website. You can find all the links in the description or in the pinned comments as usual. Now, back to the video. After the TPK last week, I roll up a red dragonborn sorcerer to hopefully kick some ass. The Goliath monk is now a tiefling artificer, and the halfling warlock is a tabaxi ranger. Coming to the table this week are 3 new players: a gnome paladin with the best name for a gnome paladin I've ever heard, a half-elf cleric, and an elf sorcerer. Not only are these 3 new to the table, they're fairly new to D&D. We introduce ourselves. Our characters marvel at the singing knucklehead bass on the wall of the inn, and we're given our first story hook. The artificer grew up in the area and works for the blacksmith. Turns out a shipment of iron ingots was attacked and stolen by what appeared to be Yetis. 4 hours of travel and a snowstorm later, and it turns out not to be Yetis. It's goblins with a cart pulled by polar bears. Combat starts, and while things start off pretty well, it goes somewhat south. My sorcerer lights the cart on fire to try and burn whoever's shooting at us from inside. One fails his dex save, trips, and faceplants inside the burning cart. The other passes the save, then does what our DM describes as some John Wick shit, and leaps out of the window, fires an arrow at the artificer, and drops him to 0. The cleric is a ways away and is at 1 hit point. This leads to the following exchange. I can cure wounds, but I need to be touching the person. You can always touch your... I realized mid-word what was about to come out of my mouth and exactly what it sounded like, and I try to cut it off. Too late. The rest of the table erupts in laughter, and I take a cue from my dragonborn and promptly turn red. In the end, the cleric casts Cure Wounds on herself. We manage to save the artificer through a combo of Spare the Dying / Healing Potion down the gullet, and we didn't all get killed this session. We even managed to unhitch the polar bears before they could burn with the cart. One of them ate a goblin, so I think they were grateful. The cleric, paladin, and sorcerer said they had a great time, and that they were definitely coming back next week, even with the unintentional innuendos. The story of Bibibai, the best goblin general who fell from grace. This was done on the stream on Sunday for all of you MrRipper fans. This little story is the backstory of a character I wish to play in a campaign someday named Bibibai. He also goes by Bibi or B. He is a goblin battlemaster fighter who was once the most legendary general in the northern half of the Sword Coast, before one action sent his legacy up in flames. Bibibai was the most legendary fighter in not just his entire goblin tribe, but all over the northern part of the Sword Coast. He would use the techniques he either came up with on his own or those of what he learned over the years to aid in his team's victory. Through these fighting techniques, he has brought his tribe many victories. He was honored as a great hero by his tribe and even some goblin supporters from those who are both outside of the tribe and are not goblins themselves. He was even asked to give a speech to the guards of Green Nest about how to easily win battles. Bibibai had many stories to tell, and some of those who would respect a goblin and listen would write them into books. A popular example of this is the book called Say Bibi, a book which has almost 100 stories that have been told to the author. His most legendary tale is of how he was once up against the orc general Ishgar, who was infamous for being ruthless in battle and being undefeatable. In this tale, Bibibai was butt naked with 2 orc guards blocking the only exit out of the small tent with nothing but his bare fists to fight back after the orcs have taken him prisoner in hopes of getting either ransom him, or just to sway the goblins to their side. The story's always changed, the reasoning to it is hard to pinpoint which is the first version, and against all odds, Ishgar completely towering over Bibibai, Ishgar wielding a giant battle axe while he only had his bare fists, Bibibai's legs were tied together as he was a prisoner, etc. He knocked Ishgar unconscious with an uppercut to the jaw and did not even get hit with a glancing blow. Whether that story is true or not is unknown. The reason for that is because the goblins of his tribe have been known to embellish and even make up stories to try to raise how great he is even higher. Yet Bibibai also has an orc tooth necklace he wears around his neck, but he does not mind the embellishing or the creation of false stories about him. He just loves and is so proud of himself that he rose up to the point of other goblins making up events to raise him to near godhood levels of amazingness. And their eyes, he was really a god, if not the descendant of one. Then one day, Bibibai was visiting the city of Waterdeep because a famous general had invited him to learn some of his techniques. Bibibai idolized this human general, and to not only meet, but to also learn from him was a dream come true for this little goblin. As he walked through a market, he was stopped by 4 human street thugs, around somewhere in the mid-teens. Maybe the oldest was 17 and the youngest was 15. He cannot remember, as it happened quite a long time ago. They had heard his stories, so they were trying to pick a fight with him. They were saying things like, "Hey, Gobbo, raid any villages lately?" And, "I heard your stories. Do you take us for idiots? We all know goblins cannot do things like that," as well as shoving him around and tossing his helmet around like a ball. But Bibibai had been in a lot tougher situations, which lessons were oddly applicable in this situation. So despite their racist teasing, he stayed calm, managed to take his helmet back from them, and started walking off to the general's home. This action made the leader of the thugs furious. You see, Bibibai is a pretty laid-back guy when not in combat. You can do almost anything, and he would not bat an eye, though he always had one single rule that must be followed, or there would be a price to pay. Never touch the ears. He had this rule because when he was younger, he would go out into the world and explore, playing with the animals. But sometimes children of other races like orcs and humans would come along and childishly attack him by yanking his ears and using his large ears as handles as they dragged him around. Ever since his days of old, he never liked it when anybody was even close to his ears. Now, take a guess as to what this kid did. As soon as the kid grabbed Bibibai by the ears, the goblin general went ballistic. Taking the scimitar from his waistband, he slaughtered the 4 teens in a blind rage, while onlookers were shocked at the bloody scene happening. When the deed was done, he quickly realized what he had done. He was scared of himself and the consequences as he heard the shouting and screams on the Waterdeep citizens mixed with the clashing boots of the Waterdeep guards as they rushed to arrest him. All he could hear from his head and the people were, "You monster! They were just kids!" And, "I knew a goblin could never resist its urge to kill." After taking a few steps away from the dead bodies of the thugs he himself just killed, he made a break for it. He managed to outmaneuver guards as they tried to grab and tackle him. He ran as fast as his little goblin legs could carry him. Eventually, he made it out of Waterdeep and into a nearby forest where he had been hiding for years. After that day, his reputation was tarnished. Those who were on his tribe's side quickly rose against them. His own tribe is currently having a civil war about whether he was in the right or in the wrong to kill those kids. All books about him were destroyed other than copies of, say, Bibi, and the eventual stories about the murder of the 4 kids. His life of old was now gone because of one action. After 4 years of hiding, he decided to come out and travel the Sword Coast, trying to beg for forgiveness of what he has done, not knowing of what fate and destiny has in store for him in the future. Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like on the vid, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notified when we go live and upload. And if you want to submit a story, of course, send it on over to our subreddit r/MrRipper. Make sure to check out our pinned comment and the link in the description if you want to enter a giveaway and collab with EasyRollerDice.com, possibly netting over $180 worth of goodies from their store. The giveaway ends soon, so be sure to check it out ASAP. Links are in the description, follow us on Twitch, and of course, head on over to the Easy Roller Dice website. Using a help action, you can come over to me as well and sub on YouTube, Brian Von VA, so I can entertain all of you lovelies over there on my stuff as much as I do here. Positivity time! Today I wanted to give you a quality of life checkup, because I care about you lot. Did you eat well? Did you sleep well, play well, and even talk to some of your family today? If not, please, from me to you, go take care of your body and your mind. You guys and gals mean the world to this random little narrator online, and I want each of you to be happy and healthy as much as you possibly can be. So please, stay strong out there, alright? All the love. We'll see you next time.